doing these filming locations for Hoosiers, I would be remiss to not start here in Milan and show you some things to kind of lay the groundwork, because without the story of the Milan 1954 state championship team, the movie Hoosiers doesn't exist. And I wanted to start off and incorporate into my Hoosiers filming location, even though nothing from the movie Hoosiers was actually filmed here in Milan. Now, there are some props from the movie here in Milan. I'm gonna go ahead and include that in the video as well, but let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm here in Milan, Indiana, standing on the location of the former Milan grade and high school site. Now, the building itself would have been right back in here. You can see a building that's over here. Show you that in a moment. That's the elementary school, the current elementary school, but at the time, that was the footprint of Milan grade and high school. So this is the site, the location right over there for the school that the 1954 Milan Indian basketball team would have resided in. Now, I love that they have this little memorial out here. I think it's outstanding that they have this here. I love when you see historical things, something that a monument, some sort of a memorial. I love the whole gone but not forgotten theme when places do things like this. You can see the Milan grade and high school, and down here at the bottom, I know I'm getting a little bit of a shadow, but you can see the 1954 state champions as well. Outstanding. And I'm gonna walk over there and show you that as well, but I wanted to show you this first. This was the original location of the Milan High School. Now, the school would have situated right on the same footprint as this school up ahead here. Unfortunately, it was torn down many years ago and a new high school was built on the other side of town. But this is the spot where it all began. So while I was walking around on this land, anytime that there was a former location of something, I'm always looking for hidden little remains, clues. If you look, sometimes there's things in plain view sight. And I may have uncovered something here, right here, that could be an old road or walkway from the old school. You can see it here. Now, I'm not certain. I mean, it clearly would have led up to what would have been the middle of the front of the building. But it's very possible that this existed when the school, right here it is, this could have been some kind of a drive or some kind of a walkway up to the school. But nonetheless, this is the location of where the school once sat. Now, the great thing is, while the school is gone, the floor was salvaged. So there's parts of the floor, and I'll go ahead and show those, how they were used, where they are, where you can find them, and even where you can buy a piece of the floor that the Milan Indians called their home court. So this is the bridge that Coach Dale would have driven across on his way to Hickory. He would have come down that road way out there in the distance, down that hill, and he would have driven towards the way I'm filming. He would have come across this bridge right here. Now, unfortunately, the original bridge that was located here has been removed. It had steel girders that went across, expanded across the roadway, and it was in need of repair. So they replaced it with the current bridge that you see here. The bridge was much more picturesque that was here during filming. As I said, unfortunately, it's gone, but this is what they replace it with. And they do show another angle of Coach from the bank up towards the bridge of him driving across. And I'll go down there and show you that real quick as well. Okay, so I came down to the riverbank just to show you the bridge from this angle. They do shoot a shot of the bridge from down here on the riverbank. Coach would have been driving across the bridge. That's the hill that he would come down. So the car would have come down that hill over the bridge, and he would have been going off in that direction towards Hickory. All right, I'm here in Terhune, Indiana, and this is the filming location of Hoosiers when Coach Dale was on his way to Hickory. He would have been driving up this road, and he would have pulled into this store, this building right here on my right. So he parked his car sort of at an angle right next to that second post. And this third post in, 1, 2, 3, right here, there were 2 gas pumps that were right there during filming. But this is the store that he pulled into. Unfortunately, there was a grain elevator that was off in the background. It's no longer here. But this is the exact angle and location that they used to film that scene in Hoosiers. Now, there were about 12 deleted scenes that were removed from Hoosiers to get the movie under 2 hours. I've seen all those deleted scenes, and I'm going to show you the ones that I'm able to match up as this video goes along. Now, a large number of those scenes that were deleted were filmed either in a house or a schoolhouse that's no longer there. Things like that I won't obviously be able to show you. But if it matches up and it's applicable to a movie location that I'm going to show you in this video, then I'm going to go ahead and insert it and mention the deleted scenes right there. Beginning with this scene. Now, I just showed you this scene where Coach Dale pulls his car up in front of the store, and then the scene sort of fades into yet another one. The reality was that little clip was taken from one of the deleted scenes. So they just show him pull up in front of the store, and then it's off to the next scene. The reality was Coach Dale pulls his car up in front of the gas pumps, and that's where he beeps his horn for service. He needs gas. So if you remember correctly, in the background, there was a kid shooting baskets sort of in the foreground of the grain elevators. You hear a voice, it's his dad calling his son to help with the pumping of the gas. And he says something along the lines of he's on a streak or he's hot, and he keeps shooting, so he doesn't.
Hey, June, customer waiting. Got a string on.
So the owner of the store comes out and helps Coach Dale fill up his car with gas.
A fellow like you, what with a little old town like that? Must be business.
Okay, so this barn that's in front of me right here appears early on in Hoosiers when Coach Dale is on his way to Hickory. He drives past, and there's 2 boys that were right over here that were shooting baskets. There was a basketball goal that was mounted right underneath this rectangle right here in the barn. And you can also see this building right next to it in that scene as he drives past. Okay, it's very windy, so I apologize if the audio sounds poorly because of it. But this intersection that I'm standing at right here is where they show sort of an aerial view. High up above, right about where, a little bit behind where I'm standing, but up above, pointed in this direction of Coach Dale. His car would have been parked right here, and he got out of the car almost as if he was trying to figure out, which way to go at this intersection. But then he gets back into his car and he drives off. But there was a church that used to be right here, and I'm going to walk over there and show you. Unfortunately, it is no longer here, but it's visible in that shot. But the church used to sit right here, right into this cornfield. Now there's a little roadside, a marker of sorts that's here. There's some remains of the foundation of the church that's next to this stake, or this post, I should say. You can see some of the foundation, the remains of the church. And another thing that you see, there's some sort of like electrical box that's here. It looked different during the movie, but it was a white, let me go over here. There was like a white little wooden structure that was here at one point that was directly across from the church. And there's what I just showed you. So that's all visible in that shot. Okay, I'm standing just outside of New Richmond, Indiana, which is this little town straight ahead on this road. It dubbed as the town of Hickory in the movie Hoosiers. So in the opening scenes when Coach Dale is on his way to Hickory, they show him driving along this road right here, and he passes by this house. Very recognizable. It still looks the same as it did in the movie. And then as the camera pans and follows him into town, you can see these trees right here by this little fence line, the remains of the fence line. And that's all still here. It's visible in the movie. These trees, and then he drives off into town. And this is the downtown area of Hickory. So when Coach Dale first arrives, he pulls up to this intersection right here, and he makes a left. You can see the little blinking traffic light. You can clearly see these buildings here, as well as the white one that's up there, the road a little further, but this is right where that location was shot. Okay, I'm here in Nineveh, Indiana, and this is the location of the school, Hickory's school in the movie Hoosiers. Now the school unfortunately is no longer here. It would have been out here where that parking lot and this grass area is. I'll get to that in just a moment. But there's a memorial here for the school. As you can see, it's no longer standing, but this memorial is here with a placard talking about this being the former site of the school. This placard here talks about the school being in operation from 1906 to 1986, so for 80 years, but unfortunately it was destroyed in 1994. And here's the marker of when the school was started, I should say. And here's a memorial marker showing what the school looks like. Now, the school didn't sit right here on the spot of the memorial. It was parallel. It sat out here in this grassy area in that parking lot area. It was parallel with the road. And if you remember correctly, when Coach Dale first arrives, as he's coming up the road, you'll see these two houses. They're there as he turns into the school. And when he turns into the school, there's some mature trees that are out here. Then there was a parking lot that was in front of the school. And then the school itself would have started roughly here and extended almost to the post office that's over there. Not quite, but it would have been on partially, the main schoolhouse would have been partially where the parking lot is and where this grassy area is. Now, there's some old aerial images that show the school, and you can actually still see this building here. And for lining up things, it's a good marker, because the school was not flush with the tip of the end of this building. It was actually the front of the school that would have run this way was more about 2/3 of the way back, roughly where this window is. So if you line this window up here, parallel to the road, the school would have been right about here. Now, when I was milling around here, I started looking at some of the things, and I discovered there's some remains of some what appears to be blacktop. I shouldn't say appear, it is blacktop. It's definitely a pour. And I'm guessing that this was the remains of the parking lot that was out front here. You can clearly see how some of the grass just hasn't grown in. And there's definitely blacktop, gravel. You can also see how the grass is real splotchy here compared to the rest of the field. When they excavate, a lot of times things like this get left behind. And if I'm lining up that marker with the school, with the window with the school would have started somewhere in here. So this is very likely part of the parking lot. But something I discovered when I started walking around in the grass area over here, and I'll show you, that I found was really interesting, is this. Now this, I dug this up out of the ground. It was buried down there. I could barely see the top of it. I had to pry it out of here. But look at this. It's a piece of brick. It's a fragment. And this is exactly where the school would have been located. This is very likely a piece of the school. It's a piece of brick. It's a fragment of the brick. So when they did the demo, this very likely got left behind. I had to push the grass and weeds out of the way, and it was packed down in there. So it's very likely that that was part of the school, because this is where it would have sat. So the main schoolhouse part of this school, because it was like a schoolhouse, and then if you're looking at the front of the school, let me go over here. This will better demonstrate it. If you had pulled into the parking lot like Coach Dale, that parking lot was here. The front of the school would be right here, okay? It would have extended into this parking lot area, onto this grass. The main schoolhouse was there, and then there was a building, and it looked like an annex that was to the right of it, and then one more that didn't go quite over to that building over there. There was a little bit of a gap. I'm gonna say like maybe 10, 15 yards of a gap between that building and the school. But the main schoolhouse part of it sat right over here. And also when I was looking at this area, the way it's excavated and stuff, there's some sort of an indentation that's here as well. You can see how that curb is flush. I'm guessing it had to do with the excavation of this area when it was the school. And I kept finding fragments of concrete and cement that's down in here as well. One other thing I found right here where this land looks like it had been excavated is definitely a part of the old school. You can see the foundation right here. Look at this. And there's no digging this out. This is totally in here for the long haul, but it's definitely part of the foundation of this school. But right here would have been the schoolhouse, onto this pavement, and then right up in here into the grass. So roughly here is where you would have walked into the arch or the front door of the school. And right here in this location, which would have been right outside the front of the school, is another spot where a deleted scene for Hoosiers was filmed. This is where Principal Cletus Summers and Coach Norman Dale would have walked from inside the school to the outside, and they came down along the front side of it. And this is basically where Cletus is telling Coach about how the town of Hickory is, there's a lot of good people here, but they get a little crazy because of basketball. But that scene was brief, shot right here on the front side of where the school once stood, right here on this spot.
This small town life may be just your bacon. You know, there's an awful lot of good folks around here. Of course, basketball makes them all crazy.
Okay, I'm here in Knightstown, Indiana, and this building directly in front of me is Hoosier Gym. This was the home court of the Hickory Huskers in the movie Hoosiers. Now this gymnasium is quite a ways away from the high school that was used as a filming location. It doesn't sit right beside, or it's not attached to it. It was actually the gymnasium for this building that is now luxury apartments. It used to be a school. This was a Knightstown school. This was the gymnasium for that school, but it now sits here. It's 101 years old as of filming. I was here about 14, 15 years ago. I'm passing back through doing some of the locations all over again, and it's a thrill to visit this site. I highly, highly, highly recommend anybody who's a fan of the movie Hoosiers, or of basketball, or historical things, to visit this gym. You can shoot here. You can tour all the locations that were used for filming here. It's a real treat. They have a lot of history about the building. There are people who are here as volunteers that are like an encyclopedia of knowledge on not only the building, but the town and things that are related to the movie. It's a must-see, a must-stop for anybody who's a fan of the movie Hoosiers. we first see the gymnasium in the movie, you see Jimmy is sitting right over here tying his shoes before he starts to play basketball. And that's when coach and the principal come walking across the floor right here. And then you later see Jimmy shooting right at the top of the key, roughly right in here. You see him shooting at the basket over here to the right. You also get a view of this angle in the gymnasium. Jimmy would be out here shooting on the floor, and coach and the principal would be walking across the floor in this direction. And you see that basket with the stage behind it from this angle. So I'm outside of New Richmond, Indiana, and this house that's up on a little bit of a hill up here is the house that was used as Principal Cletus Summers' house. And if you remember, Coach Dale stayed in a white house on his property that would have been right there, and then the barn would have been right here. Unfortunately, it has crumbled. But all three buildings were shown in a shot that was right about like this. So you see the principal's house, coach's house, and the barn. They just show Cletus and Norman walking past it. They're talking, doing some chores. So they kind of walk past the front of. There was a ramp that led up to the barn. The front of the, well, it wasn't the front, it was on the side, but there was like a ramp of sorts. There's a dirt mound that you can still sort of see that would have led up to it. Now the house would have been situated right here in between. And if you see that power meter, see that meter right here, and I'll zoom in. Right here. I'm assuming that had something to do with the connection to the house that once sat there to get power to it. And right here, you see these two pillars, these two like stone markers. This is the old drive that would have led up to Coach Dale's house. So see how you have the road here and it's almost like a gravel, and you can see gravel mixed in with the grass as it leads up in between these two markers. Right here, you can sort of see the remains of it. So that would have led to the house that sat right there. And there's also a scene where Coach Dale's car would have been parked right out here on the grass knoll. You can see that visible as well. The house looks very much like it did during filming. It's obviously a red brick facade, so it's retained its look. And that tree is very visible too. You can see that in that shot of the house when they shoot up towards it. Now, this location also featured a deleted scene from the movie Hoosiers, and in fact, it's one that kind of answered a question that a lot of people have, including myself, after watching Hoosiers. Everybody remembers how Coach Dale threw Buddy off the team.
We start when I say so.
Okay, would you kind of let me know, because I'm kind of getting
All
tired
right,
of standing.
out of here, right now.
You kicking me out?
Yes, don't come back until you learn to keep your mouth shut and listen.
But they never show how Buddy returns to the team, because later in the movie, there he is. The deleted scene was actually shot here at this white barn that was next door to the house that Coach Dale was living in, and of course it was on Cletus's property. But in the deleted scene, Coach Dale is sitting in the barn on some bales of hay by a window. And if you look south, that's the direction that you see out that window, you can see this church. And this church is still right by this location. This is where Coach is just sitting there reading a book, and eventually Buddy comes to the barn. You hear a car pull up, he looks over, Buddy enters the barn and basically asks Coach if he can return to the team. He wants to play for Hickory.
I was hoping that if it's all right with Cletus, it's fine with me.
But that was a deleted scene that they cut out. I kind of wish out of all the deleted scenes that that's the one that they would have left in, because it would have answered the question as to how Buddy returned, and it was already at a location that they were filming in for other things. But this is that spot. Okay, I'm here in New Richmond, Indiana, and this building right here in front of me would have been the barber shop. But the inside of this is what would have been used for the barber shop. So you can see it looks much different now. But inside there, this is where they also had kind of like a town meeting where everybody got to meet Coach and ask him questions and what kind of defense is he going to run.
Tell me, do you believe in man-to-man or a zone defense?
So for the first practice that Coach Dale runs, he would have been standing roughly right about here when he was basically saying he didn't need an assistant and practice was going to be closed. But the guys were kind of lined up right here, and it was in this direction.
I don't know why Cletus drug your tired old bones in here. He must have owed you something fierce.
And right here on the floor is where Coach Dale would have addressed the team in that first practice. He would have been standing right here just above the arc. Guys would have been in the top of the circle, but it was right here.
7 players, that it?
6. I don't count.
On the floor right here is where he was addressing the team. Now right here along this wall with the view into the court is where Jimmy was watching the team from afar. He was standing right here. He was looking out onto the floor. He was watching how Coach was conducting the practice.
Okay, let's get those folding chairs. Line them up right here. About 10 feet apart.
They didn't see him, but he was observing and watching them right from this angle. So this is just it's a little doorway right here. But this is where Jimmy was standing when he was watching Coach talk with the players. And this was another angle that they show where the guys were running sprints on the court. Again, they were this end of the floor without the stage behind the basket was visible. Guys were running, doing their sprints, right here on the court, but they shot it from this angle right here. So this building directly across the street from me here is the diner. It's also right here in the downtown, the little town part of New Richmond, which is served as Hickory, and I'll take you over there and show you. Okay, so I'm standing outside of the diner. It's obviously all boarded up right now, but the front door to it is right here. Got a little bit of an overhang here, but I can't show you inside, although it looks nothing like it did during filming. You can see it's clearly in the process of being gutted. It's in need of some major work here, but this is the scene where they shot Coach Dale and the principal were sitting here at the diner, and then Shooter had come over to them and asked them for some change.
Friend of years, friend of tears. You're looking fit and fiddle. Velvet Shooter Fletch.
But that was all filmed right inside of here. I don't know if they're trying to restore this building or what they're doing. It obviously doesn't look anything like it did during filming. But this is where those interior shots were filmed when this was the diner for Hoosiers. And this is just another view towards the camera angle that they would have shown them sitting at the diner. So if you were serving Coach and the principal, it would have been filmed from the direction that I'm showing you. So that wall with the scaffolding behind it would have been behind them as they sat here facing towards where I'm filming this here at the diner. Okay, I'm now standing in what would have been the fields, the athletic fields behind the school. The large schoolhouse part with the steeple and the bell, it would have been roughly here. But in this back area is where you see the athletic fields. This is also where you see a ball diamond, and this is where you see Jimmy shooting baskets. Now, a lot of the green is obviously gone. There's a storage facility that's back here now, but there is a section of it that does remain right over here. And this is roughly where the patch of grass where Jimmy was shooting baskets.
Jimmy, I didn't see you in class today.
Do you remember where the hoop that was out beyond the school, when Coach Dale goes out and he's basically rebounding for him? The ball's flat. It doesn't want to bounce or anything, but he's basically standing out here talking with him, rebounding, giving Jimmy the ball.
Not the schools, not the townspeople, not the teams, not Myra Fleeners.
And Jimmy's just shooting. He's not saying anything. And Coach Dale's basically telling him he doesn't care either way whether he plays or not.
I don't care if you play on the team or not.
This is the area behind the court, and that leads to the locker room. So the locker room is right down these steps right here. But this is also where you see, Coach, when he's coming to take the floor for the first time, comes walking right up these steps right here.
How do you feel? Like it's my first game.
And walks right over here. This is the door that leads you onto the gymnasium floor. And he opens up this door and he says, "Welcome to Indiana basketball."
Welcome to Indiana basketball.
And the home team's bench would have been right over here, and you can visibly see this register cover right here in filming. So the bench would have been right over here along this wall. Up here you have the scorer's table. So you can see the PA, possession arrow. And then, of course, this is the original seating from this gym, still intact. This stage area right here would have had a seating section during filming, so there would have been like bleachers that were put up here. Okay, so I'm in the locker room for Hoosier Gym. This is essentially beneath the stage that's behind the one basket of the gymnasium. That's the staircase that comes down. And this is it. I mean, you basically see this from two angles. The one I'm showing you, and the other one, the angle would be shooting back towards where I'm filming. But this is, obviously they shoot several scenes down here with Coach talking to the team and, you know, some of the things that he's trying to instill and teach. There was a small team, obviously not that many guys, but there's a few guys in this bench, a few guys in that bench. They showed Coach Dale sitting on the bench in a scene that stands out to me.
I'm only going to say this one time.
And this is the other view of the locker room that you primarily will see. Again, two benches. This leads back. There's some restrooms there, and that goes back into a shower area, and there's a sink back in there. Coach Dale is back there in one of the scenes, but they don't really show it. But I'll go ahead and show it while I'm down here, just in case anybody's interested as to what it exactly looks like. But these are the two stalls. And then over here is a shower area. You have a dry sink over here. And then here's another shower area right here. And again, you don't ever see anything really from this far back. All of it was mostly up in front. This area right in through here.
What I say when it comes to this basketball team is the law. Absolutely and without discussion.
This would have been the barber shop in the movie. So when Coach is crossing the street, like I'll do right here, there were several guys that were out front. There were two benches. There was a bench here and there was a bench there. And the guys were just sort of hanging out, asking if you wanted a haircut.
Hey, Coach, how about a haircut? Who cut your hair? Yours truly.
And Coach politely declines and walks down this sidewalk right here. The barber shop is right there, so as Coach is walking down the sidewalk, he's coming underneath this awning. He's walking towards the direction that I'm standing.
Hey, Coach, play with 3 next time?
And then another location they used would have been right here. The pickup truck, Opal and Myra's pickup truck would have been right here up against this building. You can kind of still see where it says hardware. You can kind of make that out on the brick wall. But he's helping them load stuff into the back of the truck. And this telephone pole, as well as the backdrop, these buildings, you can clearly see these windows. The fronts of these buildings are all visible in that shot.
Let me help you there.
Oh, appreciate it. Almost here. Been hearing plenty on you.
So Coach Dale would have been right about here in that scene in the movie. So the location for Myra Fleener's house is one that you cannot see from the road. Unfortunately, it's tucked back in on private property. However, I can shed a little information on the location. You'll see here from this aerial image, there's a house and what appears to be two I'll call them outbuildings that are off to the left. So the house is on the right and those two outbuildings are off to the left. This is the location of where Myra Fleener's house and barn and property in the movie were shown. Now, judging by the looks of the barn during filming, it was already in kind of need of repair. It was already starting to kind of crumble if you look at it closely. And then when I show you the aerial image here of those two other structures on the property by the house, it doesn't match up. So my guess is the barn that you see has just crumbled. But one thing that you do see when Coach Dale is taking a walk with Myra, and when you see Myra's property, one thing you notice is out in the background, you'll see a farm and a couple silos that are visible. Now here's an image of those silos from a road that's just around the corner from where this house is located. Look here in this image and you can see the two silos that I'm referring to. So this farm is in the distance, off in the distance in the background when they show Myra Fleener's property. So this is the right location. It's just, as I said, it's on private property, and from the looks of it, what you see briefly in the movie is no longer there. Okay, I'm here in Indianapolis, outside of the St. Philip Neri Catholic School, and this is the location that was used for the Cedar Knob away game. So this part here is the gymnasium portion of the school. The court would run kind of the length of the building, so the basket that had the wall and glass behind it is here. The basket with the stage would be on that side, but all of these windows here that line the building are the windows above the gym floor. So there's a level above the gymnasium, but basically these first two stories are all from the gymnasium.
Buddy, get the ball between their guards. Watch for Everett and Merle cutting to the basket, all right? Okay, let's go. Bad enough we gotta play in this cage you call a gym. Your players are playing like a bunch of gorillas. Who you calling gorilla? You, for one. Bust off. Got him going, didn't I, Coach? Yeah, you did. Okay, I'm outside of Clayton, Indiana, and this structure that's in front of me is Shooter's cabin from the movie Hoosiers. Okay, now I'm at the top of the hill now, and I'm looking down to where Coach Dale's car and where Coach Dale would have been standing. His car would have been parked right here. Coach Dale would have been standing right there. This is the vantage point Coach Dale had of Shooter's cabin when he pulled up here in his car. And this is the viewpoint that Shooter had. What happened to my scout? Playing birdie tonight. Bear dying, huh? We're Tom.
This is the cabin that Shooter would have lived in the movie Hoosiers. This is the cabin they used for that scene in the movie where Coach Dale goes out to visit him. Now I want to preface this
portion of the video before I go any further. This is on private property. I have been given permission to come back here. I spoke with the landowners. So please, if you're looking for this location and come here, please do not just come back here without permission first. That being said, the cabin has been damaged. Unfortunately, a large tree right here has fallen on most of the cabin. And you can see right here what I'm talking about. There's where it fractured low in the trunk and it fell and it crushed the entire side of the cabin over here, causing all of this to also collapse. So this is the upper part of the tree. If you follow my finger along the trunk, it snapped, the trunk snapped low down on the trunk of this tree, and it just fell and unfortunately caught a corner of the cabin right here and just destroyed a big portion of it. So this is what it looks like right now. However, the location that they used, or I should say the spot that they used at this location, is actually still recognizable. Do you see right here, right there where my finger is, that is actually the chimney. So the fireplace was in the lower level of this cabin, and it is actually still recognizable. You can see they didn't show anything. I'm going to zoom in. They didn't show anything in the upper level, but you can see a door on the second floor. This is where the room was with the fireplace. So right here's that tree that fell, so you can see how close it came. And straight back there, right there is the fireplace. Let me zoom in here. And there it is. So here's the inside of the door. So right here's the door, and you can see here's the door handle. It's actually like a piece of wood that was mounted on there.
This is my domicile here. And sit yourself down over there by the fire and warm up.
The cabin that was used in Hoosiers for Shooter's cabin.
This is it. Yeah.
And here's the fireplace. You can still see the mantle right here. There's the mantle for the fireplace. And right here is where Shooter would have been sitting, and Coach Dale would have been sitting on the other side. And right here's where they had that talk in front of the fire.
You want a little snort? No, thanks. No. Don't mind if I do. I got a proposition for you.
And this is it. This is what remains of this cabin. And it's weird to think that, well, like, to be out in rural Indiana in a dilapidated cabin that Dennis Hopper and Gene Hackman were sitting in here. It's sort of, those are the things I find very cool, though, as well. Those are one of the things that's very interesting about movie locations to me. And I love the ones that are off the beaten path, such as this one. Okay, I'm here in Elizaville, Indiana, and this is the church that the town hall meeting was held in. So this is they show, it was a little later than it is now. The sun's starting to set here in Indiana. It was an evening shot, so you could see the church was sort of lit up. You could see the lights, but I'll go over and show you where everybody was walking in. Okay, so I'm right out in front of the front doors to the church, and unfortunately it's closed up, but I can show you a little bit right through the window here. So the doors that you see right there, directly in front of me, are the doors that would open up and go into the sanctuary. So that's where the town hall meeting was. That's where everybody was, sitting in the stage, or I guess I should say the podium, not the stage, but the podium would have been at the far end of where I'm filming this. And of course, that's where we're speaking on about the coach, whether he should, they were taking the vote. And if you remember, some of the guys from the team were right over here in this corner, getting a little bit of a glare. But right off to the right over here, you can kind of see they have like a table set up. That's where some of the guys from the team were standing, and they were kind of observing from the back of the church. And then one of them hears a sound, like a basketball dribbling. So they look out, and that's when you see Jimmy is coming. So it's dark, but he's coming across the street right here. He comes up these steps, and then he walks into the front door of the church here, and he hands, I believe he hands Ollie a basketball as he walks in. But he enters those doors and he goes in, and then of course he says, you know, that he wants the coach to stay. If coach stays, he stays. If coach goes, he goes. But all of that was filmed right here at this church.
I play, coach stays. He goes, I go.
Okay, so here's another barn that appears in the movie Hoosiers. This is one that you see later on in the movie when the team is having, you know, a lot of success as the season wears on. You see two guys out here painting "Go Huskers" on the side of the barn right here. They weren't quite finished with it. And you also see a basketball goal that would have been here, the white backboard and a rim. But you clearly see the silo, those white doors, that window. Pretty much looks as it did way back when they were filming here in the heartland of Indiana farm country.
So this filming location I'm showing you is in Brownsburg, Indiana, and it's the location of where one of the gymnasiums stood that was used in the movie Hoosiers. This would have been one of 5 gyms that are shown throughout the movie. Unfortunately, it's the only one of the 5 that is no longer standing. The other 4 are and are all featured in my video here. This, unfortunately, is the one that did not make the cut. Where this gymnasium stood in Brownsburg was right on College Avenue. There were plans to try to save this gym, and they fell through. It didn't come to fruition. After the gym was torn down, a condominium complex was erected on the site. So this is what the area looks like now, and this is what the gymnasium looked like when it was still standing. Now, I do have an image I want to splice in here that shows the demolition of the gymnasium. You can see they're doing some demo here on the back corner of it, but I want you to pay special attention to the bottom lower right-hand portion of this picture, and you see a house down the street. Look at the chimney that's on the side of this house and how it has a kind of like a unique shape. And here's a view of that house up close. So that house is still standing down the street, but it is visible in the shot taken during the demo of the gymnasium. Now, this gymnasium was shown several times in sort of some action shots of different games, but the scene that's it's most known and notable for is the scene where Shooter comes stumbling in drunk onto the floor yelling, and Hickory gets teed up. This filming location is in Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the Bryce building that was part of the Wishart Memorial Hospital complex. So the part of the Bryce building that they used for filming the scenes where Shooter was in the hospital took place on the 2nd floor of the Bryce building. It was actually in a hospital museum that was located on that 2nd floor. So they converted it to make it look like it was an actual functioning hospital, but the reality was it was part of the hospital that was no longer being used in that capacity and was now serving as a museum. Now, the really cool part about this this location, and one of the things that you see in the scene, is the bed, the hospital bed that Shooter is on. That bed was donated to the 1954 Milan Championship Museum. Now, I'm going to touch on that museum a lot more at the very end of this video. I started with Milan, I'm going to end with Milan in it. But one of the things I'll show you now from that museum is the actual hospital bed that was used. So this is the bed that Shooter would have been in during filming. It's on display at that museum, but it was located in the 2nd floor of the Bryce building in the museum for the hospital, that is, in this case, during filming.
I'm so proud of you, Coach. I am. Sectional champs.
Okay, so I'm in Lebanon, Indiana, and this gymnasium in front of me was the gymnasium that Hickory played in the regional finals. This is the regional finals game. This is the gym where Ollie hit the 2 free throws to win the game.
Really cool gymnasium. Looking forward to going inside and seeing this one. These are the corners where the doors are. There's 2 corners, so the court runs in this direction. So one basket would be here, the basket with the stage would be over there, and there's the corner like this, and there's another one over there. So you can see the 2 portals in each of these corners. And this is the one that's more depicted, the Hickory bench. If you would walk up this, there's a little bit of a ramp, would be right there on the right. That's where their bench was during this game. But very, very cool gymnasium. Love all these old school gyms that are still standing and are in great condition. And let's go inside and take a look. So before you see the gymnasium floor in this filming location, they show you first the locker room scene. And this hallway here is the hallway that Coach Dale would have walked down towards the locker room where I'm standing. So he would have come down this hallway and addressed his team in the locker room here before they took the gymnasium floor. Now, this building has been retrofitted. It's luxury condominiums that are now inside here. And look at the hallway. I think it's so cool how they pay tribute to the movie Hoosiers, being that this was a filming location. Look at all the pictures along the hallway here, commemorating the movie Hoosiers being filmed right here in this location. This area is directly beneath the gymnasium floor.
I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game. In my book, we're going to be winners. Okay? All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let me hear it. Be patient. Work for the good job. You got it? Come on. Team! Let's go, guys. Come on. Let's go, Scrap. Let's go. Scrap. God wants you on the floor.
Lord, I can feel the strength.
Well, keep your strength in the dribble, all right?
Didn't know they grew them so small down on the farm.
Okay, I'm here in Lebanon, Indiana, and right across the street from me is where the Avon Theater was. It sat right here, and unfortunately it's no longer here. It was shown just very briefly on the marquee outside the theater. It said now playing, and then it said closed for big game. So the theater literally sat right here, and that building is still there that was right next to it. But as I said, unfortunately the theater is no longer here, but this is the location of it and the angle that they showed it in the movie Hoosiers. There was another deleted scene that was right here in the intersection of New Richmond, which was Hickory in the movie. They had the caravan of buses and cars. And this is where Myra and Coach Dale were talking about their relationship.
You think they'll want me if I lose tonight?
No, I don't think they will. We don't want any coaches that don't win the state championship.
Are becoming a basketball fan.
She was going to be moving to Chicago.
Next year, I'm going to teach you everything there is to know about basketball.
I won't be here next year. Don't overwhelm me with your enthusiasm.
I will be there.
That would be nice.
Nice.
Pleasant.
But that scene was shot right here in the intersection of the 4 roads that meet right here in the little town of New Richmond, Indiana. Okay, so this bay door right here in front of me is the bay door that is lifted when Hickory first comes to Hinkle Fieldhouse when they enter the arena. So the door would have been open. Obviously it's closed right now, but this is where the team is entering the arena and is greeted by someone here at Butler, and basically tells them how great they think it is that they're here and that everybody's pulling for them. Okay, when Hickory first arrives here at Hinkle Fieldhouse, they come through this portal right here. This is a curtain. This is a portal right here. But the team enters right through this portal, and you can see that door in the background. Now, as they walk into the arena, the camera kind of follows behind them as the guys walk in. So it kind of does, the camera kind of tracks like this. And then it shows the guy stepping up onto the floor right here. I'm at the very top corner of the arena, the exact spot where they shot one of the first scenes that you see of Hinkle Fieldhouse when Hickory arrives here to the arena. The reason I know this is the exact spot, couple things. The first thing is there's a little club section of seats that are right here that I'm pointing to, behind that basket upper level. It is not like that on this side, and that is visible when the team takes the floor. They come in right through that portal down there and get on the floor right down there. Yeah, the other thing that you see in here, there's this beam right here that's visible in the shot as well. Now you're going to notice all the seating in here as I'm shooting this is blue, and some silver where it's aluminum. In the movie, back when filming took place, it was multicolored seats. But the layout and basic footprint of the arena is very much the same. They kind of give this shot up here to show the vastness, how grand this venue is compared to all the gyms that they were playing in before getting here to Indianapolis. But this is where the exact spot where they filmed that scene. And this would have been the basket right here that the guys went out onto the floor with their coach when they were measuring, the basket. So this is where coach did the dimensions, the length of the key.
What is it? 15 feet.
15 feet.
In the height of the rim.
How far?
10 feet.
I think you'll find it's exact same measurements as our gym back in Hickory.
They're coming off the floor right here where one of the players stops and yells, "Hickory," and it echoes through the arena. This is also where when the guys are coming off the floor and the coaches are trailing behind them. You can see Coach Dale talking to one of his assistants when they're walking off of the floor, and you can see these windows up above them. He says, makes a comment like, it is pretty big.
It is big.
Let's win this and for all the small schools who never had a chance to get here.
Over the inbounds pass. 40 to 38, 33 seconds to go. Sensational comeback. Good ball, traffic. All right, lift it up. Here's what we're gonna do. What's the matter with you guys? What's the matter with you?
I'll make it.
So the game-winning bucket by Jimmy happened on this basket right here. And the easy way of telling that is the upper level right here, it doesn't have that little club section. I'll swing over here and talk about it. I'm gonna call it a club section. I don't know what it's officially called, but that club section is behind that basket. So when Jimmy hits the game-winning shot, it's on this basket here. So he jumps into the air, the team's celebrating. But this is the basket that they ran the play for him.
Plump dribbling, 6 seconds. Plump going down, jump, shoots from the circle, scores! 1 second, the game's over.
Okay, I'm here in downtown Milan, Indiana. First time here. I've done the Hoosiers locations all throughout the state. A couple of them a number of times. Never made a trip here to Milan. I'm excited. The museum for the '54 championship team is here, which is what brought me here. So I'm gonna go in the museum. It's right here. You gotta love the awning above the door there, shaped like a basketball. And here are some actual pictures from Milan after the team won the championship. This is some of the traffic coming into town to celebrate after they had won. Here's a picture of the team. Here's a picture of the team, and here's a view of the crowd.
Yes, he now lives in Florida, so at 85, I don't think he's acting anymore. I'm really sure. And my favorite story is the guy all the way on the end running through it.
And there's an image of Hinkle Fieldhouse for the game and the team.
But he was, his dad was Indianapolis like real side of society too, but we got great books. I mean, there's, yeah, one of the players said he was a senior that year and said to professional sports. Ray Kraft and Bobby Plump, a senior, so all, you know, a lot of these boys, well actually the 53 team.
And here's the jacket that Myra wore in the movie Hoosiers. You can see a picture over here talking to Coach Dale wearing the jacket that's on display right here.
Yes, we had restored it. We had fruit trees and the woods. My husband kept the woods really nice. So do you too. And there was a kitchen. There was a sink.
So this is the actual hospital bed that was used in the movie Hoosiers. This is the one that Dennis Hopper, who played Shooter in the movie, would have been on in the movie. It was donated to the museum. And right here is a picture. Notice the headboard here. Right here's a picture of Shooter with Coach Dale visiting him in the hospital. So the bed that you see right here is the one that is right here. Okay, this is a bike that was used as a prop in Hoosiers, and you can see a picture of the person who donated it to the museum. And there's the bike there in front of him. I know there's a little bit of a glare, but this is a bicycle that was a prop in the movie Hoosiers.
People helped each other, but he went
And here are some pieces of the actual Milan High School floor. These are the pieces of the wood from the high school. And here's what the school looked like. It is unfortunately no longer standing.
Was both a state championship winner as a player and
Okay, it's a little hard to see, but I'm going to show you something that's extremely impressive that's here. This is an entire bracket of the tournament from the Indiana State Championship. This is the bracket, and it starts over here. There were over 700 schools. You can see they're all handwritten, working their way out all the way through the bracket to get to the championship. I know it can't, it's not very visible on what I'm trying to show you because it's such a large piece. It's almost from floor to ceiling. And two students, from what I was told from, I believe it was Purdue University, had done this. It's remarkable. But way down here is Milan. Way down here is Milan, and you can see that they're tracking the progress. So Milan is here, Milan, 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 all the way to the championships. This is so cool. It's all handwritten.
remained on the team. Okay. So, so they had already been to the Final Four. So it wasn't a total shock that they got this far. And we do have it on DVD. The last 10 minutes, the last quarter is pretty interesting. So, and it's kind of like the way the DVD is put together. You have the winning game, and you have all the submarines in them.
I'm here in Indianapolis, Indiana, in the Broad Ripple area, and I'm standing outside of this restaurant. Looks like a house. It's actually a really cool design for a restaurant. This is Plump's last shot. Now, Plump would be in reference to Bobby Plump, who played on the Milan State Championship team. And in the movie Hoosiers, his character, the character Jimmy Chitwood, was based off of Bobby Plump. It was Bobby Plump who made the game-winning basket in the state championship game, as you see Jimmy Chitwood do in the movie Hoosiers. Now, I've been here before several years ago. I'm going to take you inside and show you something really cool. So I'm inside Plump's restaurant, and this is the item that I wanted to come in here and show you. This is a piece of the original Milan Indians home court floor. That high school is no longer there. It has been torn down a long time ago, but they have given a portion of the hardwood floor to Bobby Plump, and it's displayed here. So So you can see here it says created from the original floor from the Milan High School gymnasium. Like a lot of people, I have my share of sport memorabilia. And when I was at Hoosier Gym, I went ahead and bought these 2 shirts when I was there. But the main thing that I bought from Hoosier Gym that I value the most is this. It's a piece of the Hoosier Gym floor. You can see, get a little bit of a reflection on here, but you can see on the little placard that they put on here, it says Hoosier Gym. And when I flip it back over onto the back, you can see the Knightstown, Indiana is stamped on the back. And you can also see the grooves. If I turn it sideways like this is how the floors are pieced together with these slots. So each one of them is cut, so one groove like you see over here will slide into the one you see over there. But I bought a pair of these pieces of Hoosier Gym floor, and they were selling these. So they are all sold out of this particular item. But I'm really glad that I got this. To own a piece of the actual gymnasium floor is pretty special to me. But the one good news I can tell you about pieces of the floor is they do sell the original pieces of the Milan High School basketball court at the Milan 1954 Museum in Milan, Indiana. They do have pieces of the court that you can buy from that actual gymnasium. And the pieces of the planks are about twice as long as what this is, but they are of the Milan gymnasium floor, not the Hoosier Gym. But anyone interested, you can buy those.